Howdy folks, and welcome back to the Hillbilly Kitchen. Today we're going to be making a real southern favorite, meatloaf. Now, a lot of people don't like meatloaf because they've ate meatloaf that is soggy, greasy, or just plain old bland. This meatloaf is not soggy, it is not greasy, and it certainly is not bland. Now we start out with 2 whole eggs here in our bowl. We're going to beat them up a little bit. No need to go crazy. And the purpose for your eggs is to bind everything together. I'm going to add about 1/4 cup of regular ketchup. And I do buy this all natural stuff here with no high fructose corn syrup in it. And then we're going to add about 1/4 cup of barbecue sauce. And again, I find barbecue sauce that does not have high fructose corn syrup in it. And I really love the honey barbecue. This special edition stuff does not have any high fructose corn syrup in it, but regular Kraft does. So if you're shopping for barbecue sauce, don't get the regular, look for the special edition. We're going to add about a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And salt's always to taste, as is any spice. I'm going to do about a 1/4 teaspoon of pepper and about a 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder. And I'm also going to put in some flaxseed. Now I add flaxseed to stuff like just about everything I bake because it makes it more moist. And I'm going to do about 1/2 cup of that. And I also put flaxseed in stuff that I bake because a lot of y'all know that Brett is diabetic. And flaxseed has a lot of health benefits, especially for diabetics, because it helps repair the nerve damage that the diabetes causes. Mix your spices up just a little bit. I have a whole onion and a green pepper that I've chopped up, and you want to chop those up pretty fine. You don't want giant chunks in your meatloaf. Put that all in there. Give it another little stir to mix that around and kind of bust up your onions. Okay, meatloaf also has to have a filler. That flaxseed helps, but I just use saltines. This is 1 sleeve of wheat saltines. You just squeeze the package. You don't have to get these super fine like you do the fried chicken ones, just crumble them good. Give that another quick stir. Alright, now you can use any grade of ground beef that you have in meatloaf, but the leaner the meat, the better. Hey, you can use just a regular old 70-30 ground beef. If you do that though, you're going to have to drain the grease in the middle of cooking it, and I'll tell you when to do that. But I happened to get lucky today and I found some 93% lean ground beef on sale, and that's what I'm going to use. And this I won't have to drain when I'm cooking it, and it'll be really lean. So you just dump your beef in there. That's about 2 pounds. And you stir it all together. Some people use their hands for this. I am not fond of the way raw meat feels, so if you want to use your hands at this point, you could even use a mixer with a dough hook on it, but it don't take that long to mix it up. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now I'm going to bake this meatloaf in my iron skillet. And I've always used an iron skillet to bake meatloaf in because it's bad to burn, and the iron skillet helps cook it because the skillet itself gets so hot, and it also helps protect it from burning. I'm just taking a tiny bit of grapeseed oil and pouring it in my skillet, and then I'm going to wipe that around with a paper towel to kind of help keep it from sticking and make it a little bit easier to clean my pan, because if you use iron skillets you know how hard they can be to clean, and this will help a little. I'm gonna dump my meatloaf into my skillet. Get all my onions out of the bowl there. Now I'm gonna kind of mash this down in the skillet, and I'm gonna push it in from the edges a little bit. That also helps keep my pan from burning, and it makes it easier to add. We're going to pour barbecue sauce on this when it gets almost done cooking too, and it gives you more area to cover with the barbecue sauce, which gives you more flavor. And if you're using a ground beef that has more fat in it, this also gives the grease somewhere to run so you can drain it off when you get ready to drain it. And you do want to mash it in the pan to mash it together so it holds together when it's done, and you can cut chunks out to serve it. Okay, that looks pretty good. At this point, all you do is cover it with some aluminum foil, stick it in a preheated 350-degree oven, and we're going to let it bake for about 2 hours before we even check on it. So we'll be back in 2 hours to pull it out of the oven. Okay, fellers, it's been about 2 hours. You would not believe how good it smells in here. And you can see our meatloaf is starting to brown. At this point, it's pretty much cooked. This meat here, like I said, I don't have hardly any grease. You can see that. I don't even have enough to try to drain it. But this is the point where you would want to drain it if you had a lot of grease. But since I don't, now I'm going to add my barbecue sauce to the top again. And I've seen people who put brown gravy out of a can on it and all kind of bizarre stuff, just ketchup on it. But the barbecue sauce gives it a lot more flavor. And all you do is just pour the barbecue sauce on it. And I'm probably going to use close to a half a cup at this point, I would think. Just start in the middle and kind of let it run all down the edge, because you know you mashed it out when we started. I was talking to my dad and his wife today, and she's really concerned that the world is about to end. She says it's just like what Revelation says, all the earthquakes and floods and natural disasters. Well, there is a lot of scary stuff going on right now. I'll agree with that. But people have been preaching that it's the end times ever since Jesus was here the last time. And the fact is, rather than worrying about that, we need to worry about our last day, not whether or not it's the last days. There are 6 billion people in the world, and for 85 million of those people, this is gonna be their last year on earth. The next second, 2 people are gonna draw their last breath, and that happens every second of every minute, of every hour, of every day, of every week, of every month, of every year of this world. 2 people every second draw their last breath. And they don't know when that last second's gonna come. Now, you're gonna spend a whole lot longer dead than you do alive. So you really ought to be sure about what's gonna happen when you die. And the fact is, you cannot be good enough to get into heaven. If we could be good enough to be saved and spend eternity in heaven, there would have been no need for Jesus to ever come and die. So you need to stop trying to work your way into heaven and trying to be a good person, because that's never going to happen. And you need to confess your sin to Jesus and ask Him to forgive you. But you have to have faith that He is real, that what He did for you. Because your salvation comes when you ask and when you believe that Jesus died, He was buried, and He was resurrected, and that death was for you. So when you want to be certain of your eternal home, open up your Bible, look at it, read it. What if the next second is your second? What you have to do is admit that you've sinned, that you've lied, that you've cheated, that you've been jealous, that you've been mad and hated people. That's it. Everybody has. I'm not an angel. Trust me. Ask my husband if you don't believe me. But it's just that simple, people. You gotta admit what you've done's wrong, and you've gotta ask for forgiveness, and you gotta believe. And then the next second won't matter, even if it's your second. But we're gonna stick this back in the oven for 45 minutes, maybe even up to another hour, but about 45 minutes is plenty long enough. And if you're in a hurry, 30 minutes will do. Long enough to make your mashed taters and your green beans and get them all ready. And then we'll pull it out and we'll show you what it looks like when it's all done. Alright, it's been about 35 minutes or so, and you can see that this barbecue sauce that we put on top is really thick and gooey. That's what you're looking for right there. And I promise you, this is going to be the best meatloaf you ever ate. Let's see what it looks like. You do want to wait just a minute before you cut it, because when you take it out of the oven, it'll still be really, really soft. And you want to kind of unstick the edges a little bit with a knife, or you'll never get it out. Even though we wiped it with oil, we are baking in a cast iron skillet. And we used barbecue sauce. So that's extremely sticky. Alright, let's see what we've got here. My goodness, that looks good. And it smells so good, I'm not going to have to call them to dinner. They're going to come running here any second now. So, thanks for joining us again in the Hillbilly Kitchen. Don't forget to click like and subscribe. And remember, if we could be good enough to get in heaven, there wouldn't have been any need for Jesus to come. So stop trying to work your way there or be good enough, and just go ahead and ask Him for His forgiveness.